Because Evie has provided vaginal microbiome testing for over 100,000 patients, Evie actually has, as far as we know, the largest data set on the vaginal microbiome in the world. So we took a subset of that data. It was over 15,000 patients who had been diagnosed with BV through their testing with us. And then we used some sophisticated statistical methodologies to allow clusters of microbiome data to surface. From a statistical perspective, we didn't put preconceived bounds on that, meaning we asked the models to surface these clusters and how they naturally seem to group together instead of saying, well, we think a group is going to look like this, or we think there's going to be 6 different types of BV from the beginning before we ask the data what's actually there. So as scientific analysis has become more sophisticated, we can more ask the data to tell us what's there instead of us trying to put our own kind of perhaps ill-informed preconceived notions on it. And so that's where these clusters sort of organically came from. And just to kind of go into what that looks like, we saw a number of different clusters. The first is a very standard cluster, and we call that typical BV. So it was a classic presentation of BV driven by overgrowth of classic BV bacteria like Gardnerella and Prevotella, and low levels of healthy bacteria, so low levels of lactobacilli. Then there were other types of BV that we noticed as well. One was transitional, meaning it looked like it was moving into BV or on its way back out. So there was still a lot of healthy bacteria present, but there were still these small like populations of BV bacteria there as well. We also saw biofilm-driven BV. So certain types of bacteria can create like a sticky kind of network of bacteria that makes it really difficult for antibiotics to do their work. And there are particular species within, Gardnerella, for example, that tend to make biofilm. And so we noticed that as a specific cluster as well. Then we noticed mixed BV. So we noticed kind of classic BV-related microbes mixed with more aerobic related bacteria. And so this is very interesting because it just highlights the fact that vaginal symptoms and the bacteria that then cause vaginal symptoms don't always fit into one clean category. You can have bacteria associated with multiple types of infections at one time, which of course makes sense when you think about it, but really acknowledges that complexity. And so those are just some of the main categories that we noticed within BV. And what I will say should and will, I think, come next on our part is then looking to see what sort of symptoms are associated with these different types and then what type of treatment actually works for them. This was that first kind of step for scientific interest to classify these. And the next sort of steps will be, well, so what? What do we do with this? We're understanding it better, but then how do we change our actions based on it? And how do we help patients understand what's actually happening to them? Like if I had to make a hypothesis, I would guess that patients who have the mixed BV, so they have arrows present as well, probably have symptoms that are not just odor like you would notice with BV, but they might have more burning as well that's associated with those aerobic bacteria. And so we're eager to see what the data continues to show us. So this is that first framework, and then additional research is going to be built upon this in next steps.